Dude, what am I looking at?
Here, don't
Why
worry.
is it,
I got a way to simplify it for you. Don't worry.
it looks like Minesweeper.
Okay, here. Let me break it down for you, okay? So as we know, this is the Holy Trinity in the middle. Water beats fire. Fire beats grass because it burns grass. And then grass beats water because it drinks water to make, food and sugar and crap like that, right? Okay, so the Holy Trinity is in the middle. They're your pinnacles for everything. Now, the thing, though, is water actually also beats both ground and rock. And that's because of a little thing called erosion. Erosion, if you haven't heard of it, it's water breaking down ground and rock over time. Erosion. That's why that water beats that stuff, right? Now, water is actually weaker into itself because, water... Have you ever tried using a hose in a pool? I mean, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do absolutely anything. Now, dragon is actually resistant to water, right? So they get like a little water shield. Oh, reflected only does half damage. That's because they're a freaking dragon, dude. They're badasses. They're resistant to that. And that's pretty much everything water can do. Then you've got fire, right? So fire beats grass, right? Well, fire also beats bug. Yeah, it beats bug. I mean, obviously, it's a freaking bug. But not just that. As we know from global warming, the ice caps are melting, so therefore fire beats ice as well, even though it's water. And so, don't think about it too much. Now, of course, fire into itself is resistant because fire, while it is able to damage itself, it won't stop itself from existing. And actually, you know what? We're just going to go ahead and cover how pretty much everything on this list, if fighting against itself, it'll only do half damage. Just assume that, right? There's very few things that do normal damage. Now, fire actually also beats steel. That's because fire is used to make steel, so it can be melted down again. Now, grass, on the other hand, of the three typings, sucks absolute butt. It is terrible. Grass beats ground and rock, like water, right? You would think, oh, that's not too bad. You know, it covers ground types and rock types. Well, grass is weak to flying because birds eat grass. Birds eat grass. Not only that, it's weak to poison. Where's purple? Poison. Weak to poison. Poison beats grass. We're not done yet, because guess what else eats grass? Bugs. Bugs eat grass, so bugs beat grass. And we're not done yet, because also, I need a different color. If you freeze grass, it will die. Like in wintertime, grass dies. It sucks absolute booty cheek. Almost as much as bugs. So, as we know, bugs, they can eat grass, right? Bugs are also good against psychic types, right? Because they bite them and then they can't concentrate, because they gotta concentrate to use their psychic abilities. But also what bug types are strong against are dark types, right? And that's because anyway, moving on. We'll move on to what kills bugs. So, of course, as we all know, you squash bugs with rocks. So, rock types beat them. Also, birds eat bugs. And every single flying type is just a berg. A berg? Yeah, it's just a freaking berg, apparently. Speaking of birds, let's go over what beats them. So, for birds, what beats them is electricity. Because they get electrocuted and they die. They fly up in the clouds and they get electrocuted. But whatever, it doesn't really make sense. But what else is electric good against? Well, electric beats water because water is conductive of electricity. Now, these are the only two typings right here of water and flying that electric type is super effective into. But you want to know what else makes electric types just so great? Their moves don't work on ground types. It is completely negated. Completely and utterly negated. Useless. You think you can't electrocute the ground, buddy. You can't. Just like how you can't electrocute yourself. So, like half damage to yourself. But we've been making dragon types sound amazing. Let's go over what beats dragon types. Clearly, ice beats dragon. Ice completely destroys a dragon type, right? And that's because dragons are basically dinosaurs, and dinosaurs, as we know from Ice Age, can be frozen alive. But what also beats dragons are fairy types. And that's because dragons are homophobic, like completely homophobic. So when they get blasted by something like Dazzling Gleam, they get absolutely eviscerated by this. And then the other thing dragon types are weak to, well, we'll make dragons burgundy red. What? No, we'll make dragons white, I guess. The other thing dragons are weak to are themselves, and that's because dragons are racist. While they're the exact same on the inside, they hate how everybody looks different on the outside. So they're always fighting each other. You know, make love, not peace. Stop dragon on dragon violence. Speaking of which, though, with dragons, if they want to fight fairies, guess what? They don't want to go anywhere near them. Remember this, how they're homophobic? So they will do everything they can to avoid being around them. And so they can never attack a fairy type. But you know what does beat a fairy type? Poison. Poison types can beat fairy types. That's because if you feed a fairy poison, they will die. They will just perish, you know? Also, something that can beat a fairy type is a steel type. Because if you take a steel knife and you stab a fairy, they will bleed out and die. So they're weak to steel types. But fairies are also very strong into fighting types. Because, yeah. And they're also super effective into dark types. Because the dark types can't deal with the flamboyant radiance of the fairies. And so they get dazzling gleamed to death. But what dark types are good at fighting are psychic types. Because no psychic wants to be in the head of a dark type. Like, look at this guy. You want to be in his head? But they beat psychic types. And they beat ghost types. Whoa, first mention of ghost types. Dark beats both of these. But what dark loses to is fighting types. Because, I mean, look at this guy. He's going to get his ass whooped. Another person that'll get their ass whooped that we haven't mentioned are normal types. Because, you know, a normal guy, they're not going to know how to fight well, you know? So, fighting guy, it's like putting Mike Tyson against a coughing baby. You know, baby's getting annihilated. And fighting types are good into ice types. Because, you know, ice is easy to break. You just punch ice and, you know, it'll break. And fighting types can beat rocks. Because, you know, while it might hurt, you can still break a rock by punching it. And fighting types are strong into steel types. Because when you go and punch a car, it will hurt. But hey, you put a dent in it. So yeah, fighting types can pretty much punch everything incredibly hard on the list and come out on top. But what happens if they can't punch something? Ooh, they can't touch a ghost type because it's ethereal. It's a ghost. You can't touch a ghost. So fighting type can't even touch a ghost type. Now, ghost types cannot affect normal people because they're just going about their business and they don't even believe in ghosts. You know, they have no belief in ghosts whatsoever. So ghost types can't affect them. But also, since they're a normal type, they cannot affect a ghost because they don't believe in ghosts. So therefore, a ghost, or they can't attack a ghost. As simple as that. Really, it's simple logic. But what a ghost can attack is a psychic type. They can attack psychic types and scare them. And they lose their concentration on being a psychic. But something else that ghosts are super effective into, ghosts are also racist. They hate their own kind. And so they're super effective into themselves. And then finally, ghosts cannot touch fairies. I don't have any reason why. This is the only thing on this list that does not make any sense to me. But what psychic types are good at are fighting types. That's because they can just, levitate them up in the air, throw them around, throw stuff at them, fighting. They can't really close the distance, the fighting types. Also, what they can beat is poison types, because they can use their psychic abilities to purge poison from their body. Though sadly, they are not able to do anything to dark types. They can't do anything to them. They can't touch them at all. That's because they avoid going into their mind at all costs. I mean, like, you don't want to be in this guy's mind. Going over to rock types is pretty obvious what rock types beat. Rock types beat fire. You throw enough rocks at a fire, it'll go right away. But rock types are also very strong against flying types, because one stone can kill 2 birds. Rock types also beat ice. This I didn't even know until I just found out. Though, of course, if you try slamming a stone into the ground, it'll break. So ground beats stone. Ground also beats steel, because if an earthquake happens, all of the steel will be destroyed. But steel can beat stone. And that's because if you use a steel hammer, you'll be able to break a stone. And using the same logic, you can deduce, of course, you're right, a steel hammer can break ice. So it's super effective against ice. Though going back to ground, ground can beat poison. And that's because the ground can't be poisoned because it's not a living thing, clearly. And of course, poison can't affect steel because it's metal. So it can't be infected by poison. But what can be is everything else on this list can pretty much be infected by toxic, including rocks and ice can be infected with toxic, but not steel. Though a weakness to ground is flying, because if you're flying, you're not on the ground. So it completely misses, always misses. And then you have the good old-fashioned normal type, who is strong into nothing, but is weak to steel, and is weak to rocks. Because a normal person won't be able to put a dent in steel, and a normal person won't be able to break a rock with their fist. I mean, they're a normal average Joe. They can't do stuff like that. But, they can, hit the ground, and they can hit electricity just fine. And they can, punch water and punch fire, and... Honestly, what are normal types? Honestly, what are they? Alright, anyway, that's the whole list. That's the whole list. You should be pretty much a professional now. You still there? Anyway, send this to somebody who sucks at Pokemon and really needs this so they can remember typing.